I'm not convinced it ain't no acting or accident what the track emits. You strapped with gas that you ain't even practiced with. The fact is, you couldn't hit the target the size of a track.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. We got to talk about Smackdown. So this is going to be a very short Smackdown review, mainly because this Smackdown was taped. It was also like 3/4 of the way video packages. So we're just going to touch on some things because there was really nothing that occurred on this show that we absolutely need to talk about. And it was also nothing to make fun of either, outside of Madcap Moss continually to be very bad and the very bad opening segment. Since we're talking about the opening segment, it was a contract signing for a tag team match, Sonya Deville and Charlotte versus Naomi and Ronda Rousey. This was so bad. They got catty very early with a lot of cross talking and a lot of other nonsense, where Sonya Deville said that Naomi forgot how to spell her name. It's spelled B-I-T-C, and as she was about to spell bitch, they started yelling at each other again. Ultimately, the hilariously botched spot from a week ago that was spread around the internet, they actually edited out that pretty well. They edited it out by zooming the camera in to make it look like Charlotte's head hit the desk, even though we know that it didn't, and we know that it looked really ugly. But it was Sonya Deville that introduced the one arm tie behind the back stipulation, which apparently came from a interview Ronda Rousey supposedly did days before this. This feels like complete and total kayfabe to me, but whatever. I guess if the point is Sonya Deville's got one arm, so Ronda Rousey has one arm. But of course we know Sonya Deville is just going to take her arm out the sling in the middle of the match. So this was a complete waste. It was just a way to get Ronda and Charlotte and all them on the show. A waste of everybody's time. Now, there was something here that was pretty interesting. Sheamus and Ridge Holland. They're actually teasing a breakup of Sheamus and Ridge Holland already. This is a bad idea. All right, so Sheamus called Ricochet a flea, said that he never had a problem beating up on Ricochet, and said that Holland lost to him, and that bothers him. That Holland is not quite, absorbing all of this knowledge that Sheamus has given him. And that he wants him to pay attention tonight, really pay attention to as Sheamus beats up on Ricochet. Because if he wants to come out there and participate in Fight Night with Shamey, he's got to be on point. Sheamus is defeated by Ricochet via the recoil as Ridge Holland distracts Sheamus. Afterwards, Sheamus got really pissed off at Ridge Holland and shoved him down. Ridge Holland actually went down on his butt, and Sheamus yelled at him again that he's not listening, he's not understanding. This featured some really bad promos from Ricochet, where he says that Sheamus called me a flea. He's gonna need a really big, he'll need a much bigger exterminator. I was like, oh no, you should never play into this. Ricochet has been in WWE for 5 years now. How does he not understand the voice for his own character yet? How does he not have a voice for his character yet? Like, the guy's a tremendous athlete. Look, I really resisted the urge to go after some bodyslam.net guy who kept saying Ricochet is when you can do what Ricochet can do, you don't need to be able to talk. I'm like, who wrote that law? Nobody. Who wrote that law? That's not how WWE audiences work. That may be how AEW audiences work. That's not how WWE audiences work. And his whole concept was you either push him or release him. I'm like, you can say that about anybody. When you're as physical as Sheamus, you don't need to cut promos. When you're as smart as Sami Zayn and as, crafty and as so good with psychology, you don't really need to cut promos. But it's like, no, you need to cut promos because that's how you relate to the audience. That's how you get them interested. Why do you feel like... So what happens if for some freak accident, Ricochet hurts his knees? And now he can't do all the flips and shit anymore. What are you supposed to do? Just sit at home? Do we put him down like an old stallion? He broke his leg, take him out to the back, put a bullet in his head? He needs to be multifaceted. WWE never allows their performers to have just one thing working for them and that's it. Yeah, it was great that Ricochet can do all of this stuff. And he did like a really great senton in this match too, where it's like a tope that he balled up and kind of bumped Sheamus into that. It was great. And he takes great bumps too, you know. But you can't have that. You know, he doesn't need to talk. Yeah, he does. He also cut a really bad promo later when he was talking to Aaliyah and says that he's not sure why Sheamus dislikes him. And then ran down all of Sheamus's resume and, you know, United States champion, world champion, Royal Rumble winner, and said that those are all the things that he can do too. And those Sheamus's past is his future, which of course makes no sense, you know. But at least they're still trying something with Ricochet on SmackDown. I just wish they would let him use his own voice. I have no interest in listening to Ricochet talk, and he just doesn't seem to have a voice for his character yet. Sami Zayn, apparently they continue to use the shock stick segment from last week. Because according to them, because Boogs was shocked, he was not going to be on this week's show. So Sami Zayn then talked about how terrible of a year he had since he lost the Intercontinental Championship, and that he was the victim of a coup. And it's been the worst year of his life because they shelved his documentary and he's been kicked around and bullied by a bunch of other people. But now it's going to be the best night of his life as he's going to regain the Intercontinental Championship. And then, of course, he does so. Sami Zayn defeats Shinsuke Nakamura. Nakamura cut a promo earlier. Of course, his English is not good. And says his plan is to kick Sami in the face and that Sami must be insane to think that he can beat him for the Intercontinental Championship, which, of course, Sami Zayn did defeat him. These two know each other very, very well. So they had some really good counters to some of their usual tactics. So that was pretty good. That Michinoku driver that Nakamura took from Sami Zayn was crazy. What a nasty Michinoku driver. I think personally Nakamura was probably a little too big for Sami. But it still looked kind of safe. But it looked like, you know, one iota here or there, it might not have been too good. So this is why I really like the quote unquote WWE style, because this match was given some length. It was given some time. Early in the match, they told the story of Nakamura missed his knee drop from on the ring apron. It's a move he does all the time. And it goes to show, again, there was double story here. One, these two know each other. Two, you know, once Nakamura missed that move, that began the knee injury, which Sami Zayn worked for the rest of the match. So this leads into the finish as Sami Zayn wraps Nakamura's knee across the ring apron about a dozen times, it seems like, over and over again. Later, Nakamura tries to kick Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn catches his leg and kicks the other leg inside. And then that is the pinfall, actually. As Sami Zayn wins the match clean, but also in a kind of underhanded way. Really, really inventive finish. I like finishes that don't necessarily need a submission or a finisher. You know, like this was a pretty good cradle hold that made sense because they had been working the knee the whole match. And they basically just showed you, hey, that's enough. You know, I run his knee across this ring post a bunch of times. And then you kick him right in it. Boom. That's enough. So Sami Zayn wins the third Intercontinental Championship for the third time. Goes around bragging about it. And this was very good. This was very good. I like this. Clearly, it seems like they're going forward with the Sami Zayn, Johnny Knoxville angle. Okay. All right, sure. The Undertaker is going to be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, it's not like he doesn't deserve it, right? So we don't need to go into that. We know Undertaker's one of the GOATs, probably the greatest character of all time and all that kind of stuff. There's no need to go into that. All right, so Roman Reigns and Goldberg, they had a video package, and this video package was so well put together. It was fantastic. It was so good that it almost got me interested in this fucking match. That's how good this video package was. They put it together, making Goldberg feel like Rocky Balboa, you know, Like he's the old timer. Like you remember, I think what was it, Rocky 6? I think it was, where Rocky was, goes to fight Antonio Tarver, and he's old man Rocky, and he just wants to get in there to prove he can still do it. Like he can still hang. It's not about winning and losing, but that maybe should have been the story. Is that he's Goldberg's going there to make a to make a good showing of himself. Not necessarily doesn't think that he can win. Like in that movie, it wasn't about Rocky winning. Rocky knew he couldn't win, but he had pride. He just wanted to show that, he's got heart. He's still got something left, and that he can go in there and fight. And that's what this video package really showed off for Goldberg. It was so good. It almost got me interested in this match. And then I had to remind myself, no, you don't like this. So they had the face-to-face later, where Roman did the Acknowledge Me to New Orleans. Paul Heyman said some people never got to see Jordan or Drew Brees or Tom Brady in their prime. He made some jokes about the Saints that got a big "Who Dat" chant, which is probably the only real crowd reaction of the entire night, next to some of the really probably legit cheering for some certain people. Goldberg milked the entrance before confronting Reigns, and then says, when it comes to the Universal title, I'm next. I was like, okay. It's very short and to the point. I wish they would have done this maybe in the middle of the show and not at the end. I'm glad they didn't do any physicality. They didn't give away anything. So that's good. Both guys ended the show standing on their feet. Maybe you could have let Roman take a spear to give people the visual, to give Goldberg something to go home with. But he didn't need it. He's Bill Goldberg. He doesn't need it. All right, so Jey Uso was defeated by Ivar of the Viking Raiders by disqualification. Jimmy attacked with Ivar's helmet. The Viking Raiders then fought the Usos off. This was nothing. This was a waste of time. I hate that we lost main event Jey Uso. I really wish, and my thing is, I know I shouldn't say this. And I know people are going to not like me for this, but I say we should have one more. Usos versus New Day. 3 stages of hell. Losing team must disband. And then the Usos lose. Because then you got another Uso, You got Solo Sikoa. So then what we do is we bring Solo Sikoa up. He tags with Jimmy, and we get main event Jey Uso again. And plus, if you do that, nobody would expect the Usos to lose because they're brothers. Because it's like, oh, they'd have no value without one another. While the New Day, you already have 2 world champions. You can easily break them up, but you swerve everybody by the Usos losing. And then you bring up Solo Sikoa to take Jay's spot. So now it's the Usos still, but instead it's whatever his new name would be, because it probably wouldn't be Solo Sikoa, and Jimmy Uso. Kind of like the Freebirds, sometimes that kind of shit happens. Demolition was another one. I would do that. That sounds like fun. Because I like main event Jey Uso. We need that guy back. All right. So Drew McIntyre, he comes out there. He's telling stories about getting in trouble in New Orleans. Then he talked about how his career was nearly ended by Madcap Moss and Happy Corbin. Said that this is personal and he wants to do horrible things to these guys. And he wanted to start a hashtag called Madcap Mauling, where you can send ideas to things he can do to Madcap Moss. Then Corbin and Moss came out there. Says that Madcap Moss says that he hopes Drew McIntyre brings a good neck pillow. It says that he's a great comedian, which means he's good at using his environment. And said that what does McIntyre's neck and breakfast cereal have in common? He said they both go snap, crackle, and pop, which I guess that was going to be the case. I even said it's both go snap, crackle, pop, right? And that's what it was. So McIntyre said that Madcap Moss had good potential, but since he aligned himself with Corbin, he's going to go to Saudi Arabia. He's going to kick his ass, and the Elimination Chamber is where laughter dies. So that was the entire show of SmackDown. Not much of anything occurred on this show. Still, Nakamura and Zayn, if I didn't know the finish to the show, I would have been very surprised to see that. And I also would have been very delighted to see it. But everything else is basically filler and video packages. So they really were selling hard, the Elimination Chamber, because they really didn't put that much effort into this show. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe. And I'll talk to you guys later.